Alright, hello again, this is Jeff Scott. I'll be coming at you right now with a series of lectures for Chapter 2 in the C programming class, or 152, 149, Secure Coding. So what I've done here, as I've done in previous ones, so let me show you. I've got the actual homework assignment right here. This assignment again was due back in Sunday, October 25th. So I'm going to write these three programs for you now as three different lectures. For the first one, we will write a C program that determines the day number in a year for a date that's received as input data. So if you were to input, and I don't want it to be input like this, I'm going to input for this one 1, then a 1, then 2016. It'll say day 1. If I say 12, and then a 31, and then a 2015, it'll say 365. If I say 12, then 31, then 2016, it'll say 366, as next year, 2016, is a leap year. Again, I'm going to input that as a day, the year rather, followed by the month, followed by the day. All right. Now, you also have to figure out whether or not it's a leap year, so I just did a simple calculation in my own function. Remember, as it says, a leap year is any year divisible by 4, except if the year is divisible by 100, it must also be divisible by 400. And as I said here, to make the program more fun, and you may totally have disagreed with this, all right, only allow valid input. In other words, 1 to 31 days for January, March, May, July, August, October, and December, rather, those 7 months. 1 to 30 days for April, June, September, November, those 4 months, and 1 to 28 days if it's a non-leap year, and 1 to 29 days if it is a leap year. Now, I've taken the pointers out of my program, I believe, and I think at least remove most of them, if not all of them. So this is what I'm going to do. If by Thanksgiving break, because I'll grade them then, so if by that Wednesday you have got these assignments done and you have not used pointers, you can get the maximum grade of a C. If you do implement pointers in there, you can get a maximum grade of a B. So if you just key in what I'm going to key in, you get a C. If you go a little further and you key in or add pointers to the program, you can get up to a B, depending on the quality of your assignments, of course. All right, so we're going to start with that one. I've already got the code in here. That's about as big, pretty much as big as I can make this. I guess that's about it. So this, I literally just took the information that you see on your screen right now. I literally just took that from the PDF. So I'm going to start keying in information. This isn't a super long program. I don't know, it's about, it's long enough, I guess. It's about 4 pages or so, and we've got half a page done so far. So I'm going to hit enter a bunch of times here, just so I can start fresh and get a whole new screen here. So the first thing I always like to do is include files. And for this program, I included math.h and, of course, our old stdio.h, which you basically have to have in any C program that's going to have input or output. All right? And then I said here, constants, where I use the pound define. And first I had min year, and I had that set to 1, 100. So again, that was the minimum year to input. All right, and because it's just to save some time here, I had 6 total constants. So after min year, of course, I'm going to have max year, and that was set to 1 million, because according to our specs, which I wrote, that was supposed to be the maximum year to input. All right, then I had what I called min month, and that was the minimum month to input. Of course, that would make 12 would be max month. Okay, and then I had min day. Now, there's different ways that this could have been done. I'm just going to show you the way that I did it. So I set min day equal to 1, so that was the minimum day to input. And I set max day equal to 31. Even though, and I know you know this, all right, even though not every year is going to have, or I'm sorry, not every month is going to have 31 days in it. But that's how I set it up anyway. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't really matter. So those are my constants right there. Min year, because the specs said that we should, well, I guess they didn't say anything about the year, but I set it up like that. All right, so we can start in the year 1 and we can go all the way up to the year 1 million. All right, the smallest month number I can enter for a month is 1. The largest number I can enter for a month is 31. All right, regardless of the month, the smallest day I can enter is 1. Now the max year, which is what that should be, the max, and that's max day, the max day will either be 28 if it's a non-leap year for February, 29 if it's a leap year for February, 30 for those 4 months we looked at before. All right, April, June, what is it, September, in November, and then the other 7 months, January, March, May, July, August, October, and December, those would be 31. But I just kept it like this. Again, is this the best way of doing it? Not sure. All right, then I did add 1 here, global variable. All right, and I used a type def. Enum, and I set it up so that it's going to have false, which means it's going to be 0, and true, which means it's going to be 1. And I call that type bool. I could have called it boolean, but it's kind of one that is sort of accepted in the C community. All right. So next, I set up my function prototypes. And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 functions. So very quickly, I had my comments. Don't think we need to go over those. Had the include files, and I'll stop it for just a second. So if you do need to take a screenshot of this, you can have all of it. I included math.h and stdio.h. I had 6 constants: the minimum year, minimum month, maximum month, minimum day, and maximum day. Then I created an enumeration, a boolean, and I'm going to make some variables based off of that later. All right, then now next again I'm going to have my 5 function prototypes, and all of them, with the exception of 1, are going to return an int. So, all right, so I'm going to input the year, I'm going to input the month, I'm going to input the day. You notice that for the day, I'll need to make sure that I'm going to add some other information. All right, this will actually be a bool, and that one I just called it, you know, for lack of better words, I called it determine leap year status, and that also has an int passed in. Remember, in your prototypes, you only have to give the type in here. You do not have to give variable names. It gets stripped away by the compiler anyway, and that's why I did it like that. Finally, day of year, and that's where we're going to actually calculate or say what the day of the year is. All right, so those are my 5 function prototypes. So again, what you see on the screen right here is the global variable that I created, and it's not really even a global variable, it's a global variable or global data type. I think I'm going to change that, because I'm not creating a variable there. Rather, I'm setting up a new global data type. All right, and then I've got my function prototypes. So that's basically, that's pretty much the end of the first page. Okay, there's another couple lines, and I'm going to put those in. So I've got my main. All right, and I'm going to just start putting in my information. First thing I'm going to have in there is a character, and I'm just calling it more. You can call it whatever you want, and I'm going to make it up to size 9. Why 9? All right, it's a number I picked, and I'm setting that equal to the empty string. Okay. Again, I've already done the program, and basically what I'm doing is just putting up again the work that I've already done, these 4 pages or so, of which one is now done. All right. If you hear any noise in the background, I apologize. My wife's out of town, so I'm doing the laundry. All right. Again. And I'm going to set that equal to 1. Why 1? You'll see why in just a bit, okay? All right. Int year. And I'm going to set the year equal to 0. I'm going to have my own Boolean variable now that I'm calling leap year flag. You don't have to do this, but quite often when you create Boolean variables and they're going to represent something, you append flag on the end. You do not have to do that. I did it because it is a flag. In other words, if it'll be something that'll be true or false. All right, then I've got my int month. In fact, let's just put all these together. So I've got my int year, my month, and my day. All right. All right. This right here, this will be trying to remember why I used that, but I don't remember right now. So I'm just going to hold off on giving that a comment. All right. This will be the character continue variable. This, which shouldn't be flas, it should be false. This is my leap year or not variable. This will end up being the inputted year, and the other ones will be the inputted month and the inputted day. All right, so those are my variables that I'm creating in main. What I want to do now is I want to set this up so the program will continue. So I'm going to say while again equals, and I guess I didn't do this, but I don't know why, and I'm not sure why I set again to 1. I don't know why I couldn't have set that there to true. All right, and then I'd have to make it a bool. But I'll tell you what, I'll just leave it the way it is, okay? But that's something you could change if you wanted to. So while again is equal to 1. I don't want to make too many changes. I already know that this works, and so to me it doesn't make a lot of sense to start rewriting it. So the year is going to be equal to input year, and then I'm going to figure out the leap year status because I already have the year. So leap year flag is going to be equal to determine leap year status, which I spelled wrong up here. And I have to pass the year into that. Month, and I'll give you a hint, those of you who want to come in here and do some work with pointers, some of these things where I'm passing information in, all right, if you're going to want to be changing that information, that's when you're going to pass it with an ampersand and use it with an asterisk. So this is going to be equal to input month, the day, and that's going to be equal to input day, and I'm going to pass to that the year, the month, and my leap year flag. And then finally, I want to set the day of the year, which is going to require that same information. So, and that's equal to day of year. And I did not do a good job here in that there's the name of a variable and there's the name of a function. They're almost the same name, but and I'm looking here, and I never created day of year up here. So that should have been in here. Int day of YR. Set that equal to 0. And that's the day number of inputted value, of inputted month, day, year. Okay? All right. After I've done all that stuff, I want to print out everything, and I could have done that as another function, but I just put a printf statement right here. So I did a printf, the day of the year is %d. I've got a lot of \n's in here, and the only reason I did that is I wanted my I wanted the output to look somewhat decent and not be squished together. So then I asked the user, how about this? To run program again, enter a 1. Anything else to add? All right. Scanf. More. And again, equals a to I of more. A to I is a function that takes whatever I put in there in that string and it attempts to convert it to an integer. If it succeeds, again equals that value. If it doesn't succeed, for instance, if I left it blank or if I put in something non-numeric, more will equal 0. All right? So again, this is our main. We're creating all of the variables that you see here. So this is program continue string, we'll call it. All right, there's our again. There's our leap year flag, the year we're reading in, the month we're reading in, the day we're reading in, the calculated day of the year. So these are our variables. These are our local variables. Anything we did up above main were global variables. We didn't have any in this case, but those are our local variables right there. All right. So then we're saying as long as we want the program to continue, determine the year, determine whether or not it's a leap year, determine the month, determine the day. And then based on the year, the month, and the leap year flag, determine the day of the year. Then print that information. Then ask the user if they want to run the program one more time. If they do, they enter a 1. If they enter anything else, the program stops. All right? So that's it. That's not the whole program, of course. We still got the other 5 functions to write. But that's it for main. All right. So I just did them in order. So I've got int input year. All right. y is just going to be the year, which I set to 0. Char, and I called it the year. And I made that of size 10. And I set that equal to the empty string. All right. Hopefully, once we get going in here and you look at the printfs and the like, what I'm doing in here will make some sense to you. Because I'm going to be doing something very similar to for input month that I am for day. The only difference is I'm doing the same thing for the input year that I am for the input month. The only difference is for the year I'm putting in a number between 1 and a million. For the month I'm putting in a number between 1 and 12. But the ideas are virtually identical. All right. Please enter a year between %D and %D. And we know that that's going to be something between min year and max year. All right, so that should say up on the screen, please enter a number between 1 and 1 million. And then we're going to read it in. But we're going to scan that, and we're scanning it into a string. So we're putting it into the year. Then attempt to convert string to integer, which is exactly what we're doing right here. In fact, I can grab that comment and I can add that comment up here. All right, get the whole thing in here. There. So y, our year, which is their int, equals a to I of the year. Now it's possible, again, that we put something in there. Oops, it's possible that we put something in there, and what we put in there was non-numeric or it was out of range. Either we put in a negative number or a number greater than a million, something like that. So I've got a while loop in here, and I may have done a little overkill here, but I checked first of all to see if y is equal to 0, because that's our non-numeric. We could have also literally entered a 0, all right? So if it's that, or if y is less than min years, so really this check should be caught in this check, but I'd rather be a little bit, go a little bit above and beyond the call of duty, so to speak. So again, what are we doing here? All right, we're entering the number, boom, we're moving it. Now we're coming in here and we're validating the year. All right, because if it was out of range, all we want to do is this same stuff that we did previously. So I can grab all of that and I can paste it in. Again, I might have to do a little bit of work as far as tabbing a little bit, but big deal. All right, so by the time I get down here, I've got a valid year. It's got to be numeric, and it's got to be between 1 and a million. That's exactly what I wanted. So now I can grab this whole thing, copy it to the clipboard, come down here, and paste. Why? Because now I want to input the month. So I'm going to change the year to month. I'll change the Y to an M. I'll change the year to the month. And it doesn't have to be that big, because month, I'll just make it 3. I'll make it bigger than it needs to be. How's that? Now I'm going to say, please enter a month between %D and %D. And now it's min month and it's max month. All right, this becomes the month. Here we're attempting to convert it to an integer. That'll have to be an M. So again, validating the month. All right, So again, now while the month is there, or M, and an M there, and these will all have to change again to month also. Now I'm going to do something that I should have done earlier in here, and I want to show you this. So I'm going to grab all of this code that I just put in for this particular routine, M. All right, so I'm going to grab all of this code right here, this input month, all of this. I'm going to grab all of it. All right, and I'm going to cut it. I'm just going to throw it into a new file for right now. There it is. Why did I do that? Well, now I'm going to come back here, and where I've got my leap year program. All right, so all I've got in it now is main and all this other stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of those function prototypes that I've got that are right here. All right, so I've just inputted the year. I've done nothing else. Now I'm going to add all those other lines. And I'm going to say int input month, and I'm just going to say here return 0. Then int input day, and again I'm going to return 0. Then I've got a Boolean to determine that, and I'm going to return false. Finally, I'm going to go down to this last one here, and this day of the year, and I'm going to return 0. So why did I do all that? I didn't have to necessarily, but all I want to test right now is this function, just this one, because that's the only one as of right now that I've really written. I could have put a printf in here that said I was in that function, but all I'm doing is returning 0. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to here. Right, and right now, where am I? Oh, okay, I'll have to move these over, but that's fine. So I want to do a CL of leap.c. All right, so it says I've got an error on 102, 107, and 112. So let's look at those. 102. Remember when I added those here, I have to say what it is. So I'm going to have to put in this. I can't just say this. All right, I can't just say this either. So I'll say here year. All right. Again, it doesn't matter because the only thing we want to test is this function. All right. So I've saved. I want to go back again. Let's recompile. All right, so it worked. Good. So now I type in leap. Please enter a year between 1 and 1 million. Well, let's put in something that's non-numeric. Let's leave it blank. All right, doesn't seem like it likes that very well, but let's put in something that is non-numeric. Hello. All right, so it handled that okay. Didn't like the blank, so I might have to check for that also. Let's put in a number that's out of range. Let's put in another number that's out of range. All right, that's good. Let's put in a number that's in range. It says the day of the year is 0, and that's okay, because that's what I returned before. So the program, to run the program again, anything else to end. So I don't want to run a 1 because I've already checked it, so I'll just put in here a 2, and it ends. So now what I've done is I've just checked my one routine. Now before I return this, if I wanted to, I could do a printf here, and I could say returning from function input year. Year inputted was %d \n, oops, comma, y, and then I can print out that year. All right, so I can put in a couple \n's here also. And why did I do and what did I do? Let's just take a look. So let's recompile it. Let's rerun it. And I'll put in a number. So I'll put in hello. All right, never made it that far. Let's put in 2015. So it says returning, the year inputted was 2015. That's good. All right. Let's run it again. Let's put in a big number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, the year inputted was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That appeared to work. All right, so that's good. Now I'm going to come back and where I had my input month. Now I'll go and add this. So in other words, what I'm doing is I'm doing a function. I want to write a function, then I want to test that function. Then I want to write another function, and then I want to test that function. All right, so let's put that in. The only thing I'm going to add from there is this. So now if I want, I can put I've got a printf in there that's going to return the month that I inputted. So the month was this. That'll be an M. And I'll keep the other printf in there and I'll see if these two work okay together. All right, so, whoops. I'm going to come in here and run the program. So I've got to recompile it. Still works. That's always a good sign. All right, so enter a year. Let's put in the current year, 2015. And it says that was the year input. Now enter a month. Well, the current month is 10. Month was 10. That's good. I can come in here and let's try this. Let's run the program again. We'll put in a valid year, but now let's do our month check. So hello, doesn't take it. Something less than 1 doesn't take it. Well, that should have been a negative 4, but an equal 4 didn't work either, and that's good. How about 23? Doesn't take it. How about 11? Takes it because that's valid. Something broke here. I'm not sure what it was. You have to go back and check on that later. I think it's actually, it might be from that equal sign before. I don't know. I really don't know. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to write my input day routine. All right, I have to pause for just a second and we'll start right back up. All right, so returning then, the next thing that we want to do is we want to go in and we want to write our input day routine. All right, so we've now finished 2 of the 4 pages, so we're about half done. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to take now these printf statements because I'm pretty sure that the one for year works, and I'm pretty sure that the one for month works, but I'm going to grab the one for month and I'm going to copy it into here. Okay, and eventually I'm going to say return from function input day, and I'm going to say the day was, and we'll put in D. All right, so we'll put that in at the very end. So then we'll be returning D, which is our day. All right. Int D, oops, that's interesting, equals 0, char the day, and I made that a size 3. I set that equal to the empty string, and int num days, I set that equal to 0. All right, probably should be going back in here, and this will end up being the inputted year. This will be the string used to input the year. This will be the inputted month, and this will be the string used to input the month. And in much the same way, this will be the inputted day, and this will be the string used to input the day. All right. Now, what I also want to figure out in here, I don't know when they put in a day, let's assume that they put in a 31 for the day. So let's assume that they put in a 31. Oops. All right, so let's assume right here they put in a 31. Is that a valid number for the number of days? I don't know because it depends on the month. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a switch in here, and I'm going to do a switch based on the month. And you should already be able to figure out how this is going to go, because if it's a 1, meaning it's January, or if it's a 3, meaning it's March, you can even put those in here. January, March, and there'll be 7 of these, so let me just grab this and copy it. It's more than I need, but that's fine. So 1, 3, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. All right, so March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and December. So that's going to handle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of our 12 months. All right, if that's the case, if it's one of those 12, we know that the number of days equals 31. All right, that's the number of days in the month. So we can break out of that loop. But if we get down there, that means it wasn't a 1, 3, whatever. So if it's a 4, or if it's 6, or if it's 9, or if it's 11, meaning it's either April or June or September or November. So if it's one of those 4 months, well, what do we know? We know then that the number of days, oops, not number, num days is equal to 30. See, I've got an extra. And we can break out of that. So now we have handled 11 out of our 12 months, okay? Well, what's left? Well, we've passed in already, as far as one of our parameters, leap year flag. And leap year flag, and now that I look at that, I'm not sure even why that compiled before. Oh, because I wasn't passing any parameters in. Remember, I can't just say year, month. I've got to say int year, int month, and bool for leap year flag. Okay? And one of the things I passed in was leap year flag. And if it's set to true, it's a leap year. And if it's set to false, it's not a leap year. So I can come down now and I can check February, case 2. And what I can say here is if leap year flag, remember, that is a shortcut for saying if leap year flag equal true. And if it makes more sense to you to write it that way, then write it that way. So if it is a leap year, then num days is equal to 29, and otherwise it's not a leap year. Not not a leap year. So num days is going to be equal to 28. Now you could even make a case and say you really should have checked first for not leap year and set it to 28 and then did the else and make it 29. All right, because basically more than 75% of your years are going to be a non-leap year. I'm going to leave it the way it is. If you want to change it, fine. If you don't want to change it, that's also fine. The point is, when I get done now with this case statement, I know how many days were in that month. So now I can come in and ask you to enter that number of days, and I can check it to make sure that it's between my parameters. All right? So I can still grab the stuff that's up here from the previous function. I'll have to make some changes to it, of course, but I can grab that. And I just don't feel like typing, that's all. The lecture is already getting fairly long. All right, so now I've finished my case statement. So I'm coming up here. So now I say, please enter a day between %d and %d, and that's min day, but it's not max day. No, it's num days, because that's going to be either 28, 29, 30, or 31. And that'll be the day. That's a D. That's day. Again, same kind of thing. D, 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 day, and num days. And if that's the case, we're going to want to do the same thing that we had here. So now I can just go and copy all that stuff in. So now I can check through my days, and that's good because that would involve more checking, as I'm hopefully at least you know. Now part of the problem is I didn't get any errors here, but when you do a lot of copy and paste, as I've been doing, it's real easy to forget to change a variable's name or something. So I'm doing this because I want to get each of these lectures done in an hour or less. All right, and so I'm cutting a few corners in here. So let's run it. So leap. All right, so 2015. Whoops, 2015. We'll put the current year in here. All right, we'll say February. And enter a day. It's not a non-leap year, so I'm putting in 29. And it didn't take it. That's good. So let's try 28. All right, and it says it's returning 28. That's good. Let's run it one more time. I mean, technically, so let's put in 2016 now in February, and now let's try putting in a 29. And you see, oh, it didn't like it. Enter the day, a day between 1 and 28. Huh, 2016 should be a leap. Oh, we didn't write that function yet to determine whether or not it's a leap year, so that's going to be the same for all of them. That's okay. All right, so let's just put in a 1 here. Again, I should run through here and check every month. I should check January. I should put a number, I should put a check 1, check 31, check 32, and check 0, for example. I should do checking on all my boundaries. I should check one or more valid values, and I should check a bunch of invalid values. If I do that for every one of these, this lecture is going to be 2 hours, and I don't want it to be. So I've now written 3 of my 4 pages. In fact, more than 3. So I've got to go in and I've got to write my determine leap year status function and my day of year function. All right? Not real much left to go. Probably somewhere in the vicinity of 20 to 30 lines. All right? So you can see already the program's getting big. All right? You can complain and say, well, yeah, Jeff, you gave us way too much homework. These are way too long a program. They're designed to make you think and to make you utilize the skills that ideally, at least, you've learned in this class. All right? So the determine leap year status, I'm going to have in year, and I'm just going to say, in fact, I'm going to get rid of the return statement for right now. All right, if the year, if I attempt to take the year and modulo it by 4, So if I attempt to divide it by 4 and I check the remainder, and if it's not 0, that's 3 out of every 4 years. So I can just return false. I know that means it's definitely not a leap year. All right. But then I can come in here and I can say, if the year modulo 100 is equal to 0, and the year modulo 400 is not equal to 0, I again can come in and return false. Now I could have put all of this in, I could have put this check and I could have put that in as an OR check. I put it in as 2 different checks because I thought it read a little better and it made a little bit more sense. If I get down to this point, I can just return true because it's divisible by 4, and if it's divisible by 100, it's also divisible by 400. So that's that one. Now, I can save this, I can go back and I can check my program again. And now if I come in and check February 2016 to, now notice how it changed from 28 to 29. So if I put in 29, it accepts it. So the only thing left to do is to figure out the day of the year. And I'm going to show you again exactly what I did. You could make a case here with what I'm about to tell you and say you kind of put a hack in there, Jeff. I wouldn't even argue with you. All right, so we're going to figure out the day of the year right now. It's not very long. I got the whole thing done in probably about 15 or so lines. All right. What I ended up doing was I want to create an array. I'm just going to show you this. So I wanted to create an array, and I wanted it, technically I want nothing to be in month 0. There's 31 days in month 1. There's either 28 or 29 days in month 2. All right. There's 31 days in month 3, 30 and 4, 31 and 5, 30 and 6, 31 and 7, 31 and 8, 30 and 9, 31 and 10, 30 and 11, and 31 and 12. Of course, I can't write that like this because that's not going to make any sense. So what I did was I passed in the leap year flag. And I said if it was a leap year, make it 29, otherwise make it 28. So what I did was I created an extra variable in here that was an integer, and I called it EL2, which stood for element 2. Second array element. Not even second, it's really the third. Oops. Remember, it's 0, 1, 2, so technically it's the third array element. And it's going to be either 28 or a 29. All right. Well, how do I know whether it's a 28 or a 29? Well, before we do that, we'll have one more int in here, which we'll set equal, we'll call it day number, and I'm going to set that equal to 0. And really this element 2, I don't know what its value is yet, so I'm going to set that equal to 0 also. All right. Okay. So I'm going to say if leap year flag, and again, one more time, sorry, that's a shortcut for saying if the leap year flag equal true. So if that's the case, then that second element, EL2, is equal to 29. Otherwise, that second element is equal to 28. All right? Now that I've done all that stuff, now I know that I know if that's going to be a 28 or a 29. So now I can build this array, and that's what I'm going to do next. So I said int, and I just called it leaps, bracket, bracket equals 0, because I now that's month 1. Now month 2, instead of a 28 or a 29, I put an L2, which is going to hold either 28 or 29. Then 31, whoops, 31, 30, 31, 30, 31, 31, 30, and 31. Okay? Let's make sure that I filled the array accordingly. I left the number out there. I'm letting the compiler check. Element 0, element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4, element 5, element 6, element 7, element 8, element 9, element 10, element 11, and element 12. So there's my leap year array. All right. Now the rest of it, and I'm not going to lie to you, I had to sit there and think about this a little bit. Okay? So now I had to come up with basically a formula to figure this out. Well, this is where this helped right here. Because if I'm in January, all right, if I put in 1 for the month, if I put in 23 for the day, it's the 23rd day of the month. Doesn't matter if it's a leap year or not. But if I put in February, then it's whatever the day is. So let's say I put in the 16th. It's 16 plus 31. If I put in March 10th, it's 10 plus either 28 or 29 plus 31. So the way that I wrote this was I said simply for day number, whoops, I'm sorry, I'm writing the next part of this. So for int I equals 0, it's just going to be a loop control variable, I less than the month, I plus plus. And what I'm going to end up doing in here is exactly what I told you. Day number plus equal leaps sub I. And I just explained to you exactly how I'm doing that. So that's going to add whatever I put in. So let's say I put in December. Let's say I put in December 15th. It's going to add 31 plus either 31 plus either 28 or 29 plus 31 plus 30 plus 31 plus 30 plus 31 plus 31 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus the number of days that I entered. And that's what I put at the bottom here. It's the last line in the function that says day number plus equal day. I lied. Now I got to return that. Return day number. That's the whole program. So taking it from the top, and you'll notice now I've got to move this, get rid of all this because that's extraneous. There's about 215 lines. If I take out the lines for the comments, that's 17 lines, so it's 200 lines. If I take out these, it's about 190 lines. If I take out this, it's now about 180 lines. So we had what? We had main, which called input year, that gave us the year. Input month, which gave us the month. Input day, but we needed to know the month we were working with. All right, and then we could figure out the number of days in that month. Then we could figure out whether or not the day input was valid or not. We did our leap year status, and we finally figured out the day of the year. So let's run this a couple times. You can't test a program like this too much. All right, day undeclared identifier in line 211. Day number plus equal day. What did, oh, in here. This should have been the day, and I need to type in here int day, int, come on, int month, and bool leap year flag. Okay, that should clear up everything, all the problems that we had. cl-leap.c. Okay, leap. All right, 2015. 2015, December 31st. The day of the year is 2349. Well, that doesn't look very good, so there's a problem in here. All right? And probably there's some kind of a counter that I'm not clearing. If I'm going to run the same thing again, and if it gives me a bigger number than 2349, there's a problem here. All right, so anything else to end? All right, so let's see. Let's run it again. December, whoops, oh, that's the year 12, but that's fine. December 31st, and notice 347, so that still looks funky, so something is wrong there. This is bad just because of the fact that when I did the program, it worked just fine, and I tested it multiple times. Let's go and take a look first of all. We've got that printf statement that we put in here before, I believe down here, which we don't need anymore, that returning from the function. So let's get rid of that printf. All right. So return true or false, bool, which should be, so that should be okay. Int, return day number, which is right here, so that should be okay. So how are we printing that out at the very end of the function? Day of the year is, let's see. The day of the year is, that should have been day of year, should have been there. Okay. Because that does not look right. So let's go down and see when we came in here, when we're about to return that day number, let's print it out first. Printf, the day number of the year was %d \n day number. All right, because there's an error in here someplace and I want to find it. I want to make sure that the code that you're given works and works correctly. So 2015 12/31, and it's saying that the day number of the year is 2349, so something is definitely hosed there. Let's see if that is an anomaly with just the 31st. So we'll run it again. We'll put in year 2016 12/31, and it's got 2351. Somehow it is adding, I think I know what it is, it's adding the year. So let's go ahead in here and let's take a look at, because this is where we're figuring it out. So int day, int month, bool leap year flag, element 2, day number is 0. If it's a leap year flag, 29, otherwise 28. Leaps, 0, 31, EL2, 3130, 3130, 3131, 3031, 3031. That all looks okay. For int I equals 0, I less than month, I plus plus, day number plus equal leaps sub I, that looks okay. Day number plus equal day, and return day number. That actually all looks correct. So that says that there's a problem with my formula. Or when I'm coming in here, somehow I'm not, that day number variable or day of year, it was 0 there. After I'm printing it out, I think one thing that I want to do is, so the day of the year is, day of year, that all looks correct. Year equals input year, leap year flag equals determine status month, month, day, day, day of year, day of year. That all looks like it's correct to me. What I'm going to do so I don't waste your time is to pause the video right here and compare this with the first one that I wrote to see if I can find any problem. If I find a problem, I'll come back and show it to you very shortly. All right, let me make sure that this is back on. It is. and I figured out what the error was. It was stupidity on my part. When I'm calling day of the year, I have to pass the day in with the month and the leap year flag. I was passing year in there. All right, so let me run the program again. I have to recompile it. Get rid of this here. All right, so I'm going to recompile it. I just did. And let's run leap. So the year is 2015, the day is 12, or the month is 12, the day is 31, and the day of the year is 365. Run it again. Let's try 2016, and let's try 12/31, and we have day 366. Let's run it again. We'll again put in 2015. We'll put in the month. It says between 1 and 28, which is good. We'll try putting in 29. It doesn't take it. So 28th day here is 59, which is 31 plus 28. Let's run it again. We'll put in 2015, and we'll put in March 1st, 3/1. And it says it's day 60. So we'll run it again, and we'll make it a leap year. And for that leap year, we'll again put in March 1st. Now notice it's day 61 because there was an extra day in February. All right, lastly, let's run this, and let's make it the year 2100. All right, in the month, let's make 2. This should not be a leap year, and it's not. All right, so that appears all to work. So I'm going to literally take about 2 minutes max, because now it should be working. Whoops. All right, we should have the first one for Homework 2 out of the way now, so to speak. So from the top, we had our comments. We came in here and pound included math.h and stdio.h. We've got 6 constants: our maximum year and minimum year, our maximum month and minimum month, our maximum day and minimum day. Again, this is only used, really, the max day. I probably didn't even need it, to be honest with you. Let's check. Let's see. Do I have max day anywhere else in here? Oops. So let's look in here and see if we have max day any other place than in here. We don't. All right. So I'll keep it in there. All right, but I don't think I need it for anything. Okay, we've got our enumerated data type. So we created a variable of type bool where false is 0 and 1 is true. We have 5 functions in our program other than main. We've got a function called input year, which requires no parameters and returns an int. One called input month, which requires no parameters and returns an int. One called input day, which requires an int. That's our day, that's our month, and that's our leap year status, and it returns an int. We've got a function called determine leap year status, where we pass in the current year, and based on the year, we figure out whether or not leap year is true or false, so that's a Boolean, and day of year. All right, and for the day of year, we needed the day, and I don't even remember what the other thing was. We needed for that, for the day, we needed the year and the month. All right. Then we wrote our functions. So main came in here, and we declared about 7 variables. More, which was the variable that we were going to let the user key something into, all right, if they wanted to continue the program. Then we were going to attempt to convert it to an integer, and if it was a 1, we'd let the program continue. Leap year flag, which was our Boolean variable, which was true if it was the current year was a leap year, false if it was not. The inputted month, the inputted year, the inputted month, the inputted day, and then the calculated day of the current year. So we put this all in a loop because we were told in our requirements to be able to, we wanted to be able to run the program multiple times. To figure out the year, we call input year. To figure out the leap year flag, we call determine leap year status, and we pass it the year. To determine the month, we call input month. To determine the day, we call input day, and we need the current year and the current month and whether or not it's a leap year. And for our day of the year, we call day of year, and we need the day, current day we put in, the current month we put in, and our leap year flag. Then, in lieu of writing another function, I just printed it out right here, asked the user if they wanted to do it again, read their answer into a string, attempted to convert that string into an integer, and put it in again. If it was able to be converted, it was going to, if it was a number, the number would be there. If it was an invalid input, it would be a 0 there. All right. Then we came in, and our input year and our input month were very similar to one another. All right. So the Y for the year, and this is the string we used to read that into, and then when we converted it, we were going to put it into here. So we told them to enter a year between 1 and 1,000,000. We read it in as a string. We attempted to convert that string to an integer. If we couldn't do it because it equals 0, meaning it was non-numeric, or we put a negative number in or a number greater than 1,000,000, we just asked them to go through the process again. When they got down to line 93, that should have said that the value that they put in was indeed an integer that was between 1 and 1,000,000. Then we did a similar thing in here for the month. Whoops. Again, M is going to be our month. What order do we put that in here? We put, technically, I guess we should reverse these. Doesn't matter because they're just variables, but I did do the month and the year. I figured out their values first. So again, we tell them to enter a month between min month, which is 1, and max month, which is 12. We read it in as a string. We attempt to convert the string to an integer and put it in M. If it was not able to be converted because it was non-numeric, or if it was less than 1, or if it was greater than 12, we just again ask them to do it again. And when we get down to line 117, that should mean that that value that we put in was a number, and it was a number between 1 and 12. All right, finally we came in and we attempted to input in the date. Now we already know a bunch of information about this. We already know the month. But we don't know if they read in a number, we don't know what the maximum number of days in that month is. All right, so really I could have made this into another function, I guess. Maybe that would have been cleaner to take this out, put it in another function, call that function from here, and then do this. That probably would have been a cleaner way to do it, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So we know that if it's one of these 7 months, there's 31 days in a month. We know if it's one of these 4 months, there's 30 days in a month. We also know whether or not it's a leap year. And if it is a leap year, then the number of days in that month in February is 29, otherwise it's 28. So we asked them to read in a number of days between 1 and whatever we calculated the maximum number of days for that month was. Okay, we read it again in as a string and attempt to convert it to an integer. If we cannot convert it because the validation failed, we tell them to do it again. So when we get to this line here on 172, all right, we now have a number between 1 and whatever the maximum number of days are for that month. When we determine the leap year status, this is the whole routine here in gray. If the number is not evenly divisible by 4, we know it can't be a leap year, so we return false. If it is evenly divisible by 100 but not by 400, we again return false. If we get down to line 186, they've met the criteria, so we know it has to be a leap year. Finally, in our day of year function, which was our last one here, all right, the only thing we don't know is we know whether or not it's a leap year, but that element that's right here, we don't know if that should be a 28 right here or that should be a 29. So we check, and if the leap year flag is set, that second number will be a 29. Otherwise, it'll be a 28. So we create an array 0 for month 0 because we don't care about that. Now January is month 1, February is month 2, etc. That's filled in with EL and the rest of them are filled in with a 31 or a 32. Then we did our little formula, which I went over with you before, to figure out how many months in we are and to add the total number of days in that month in, then add the total number of days in the current month for the number that we inputted, or the date that we inputted. We return that. When we get back to here, all the way up to the top, come on, then all we did was we printed it out. And we asked the user if they wanted to run the program again. All right? Hopefully I put this out there enough and have explained it enough last time. If you want to see on this program, just basically key back in what I have. If you want to B, key in what I have, except make sure that you come in and you add pointer variables. All right, and I don't mean one. I mean there should be several places in this program where you can conceivably add pointer variables. That's it for this lecture.